Hello YouTube, this is Tonstead39, and before starting, what do you find triggering about the post in the middle? I won't tell you what it is, but I will tell you that it did trigger a very moderate snowflake.
Yes, as oxymoronic as it sounds, moderate SJWs do exist, and I've had the unfortunate pleasure of having to argue with one. And in one of the strangest and most unlikely of websites, too. You'd think SJWs, you'd think, Tumblr or Facebook or Twitter, or you'd think that. But guess where I met this one? RP Nation. For those who don't know, RP Nation is like a specialized website for role players. So it's all text-based, by the way. So people make a post, people sign their characters in, and then people just play off each other. Quite fun. I recommend you try it sometime. But anyway, it's the specialized role players website. So imagine this. I'm on the website, I'm looking at all the latest role plays when suddenly my notifications look like this. And when I tapped on the icon, I wound up getting something that looks like that. Excuse me. I thought that maybe this was like a survey. They wanted me to take a survey of some kind, or maybe it was like some witty promo of an RP of some kind. So I tapped on it, and...
Yes. Hello. My name is Ace. Hello. Are you a cisgendered heterosexual white male?
It was at this point where I knew that she's an SJW, because only SJWs would ever get this intersectional. So in that one sentence I read, you see her mention my race, my gender, and my sexuality. So I decided to maybe persuade with her and have a reasonable discussion.
I'm bi, but what does it matter if I'm a gay black man or an Asian woman? Why does what I am matter more than who I am?
If you're curious, the bisexual bit is in no way pandering at all. I accept both cunt or dick. Either way goes with me, What you have down there doesn't matter with me. As long as you can take me out to dinner, that doesn't matter. Anyway, so I could get a whole slew of things, from how I white-splain about stuff to the fact that I'm an agent of the patriarchy. I mean, I could get anything at this point. Well, I did get something. A lot of things.
Well, I'm not here to get to know you as a person. Race matters when you use a highly volatile and offensive word so casually. No Caucasian person under any circumstances should use that word ever again. So I was just wondering, buddy, are you a part of the group that was enslaved and brutalized, or are you a part of the group that did the enslaving and brutalizing? I'm not saying that all white people are anything like their ancestors, but the fact remains that it happened, and you need to be conscious of that. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a black character just because you yourself aren't black, but no non-black person has the right to use that word freely. Not in a quote, not in a song, under no circumstances whatsoever. It's ignorant, and it's beyond disrespectful. And now would be a fantastic time to edit that post and move on, knowing your privileged little heart that you have no idea what comes along with that word and what it has done to countless black lives.
We have reached the crux of it. A fictional Twitter username. So in this context, it's one of those slice of life role plays, It's an art school, and thus my character, Deshawn, has recently enrolled and is a new member, and thus befriended a few people and got their Twitters. And thus he decided to ask one particular person out to lunch, hence the context of the middle post you saw at the beginning of the video. So she is getting herself triggered over a fictional Twitter username. Now, I get it, and you'll see in a moment that I really did get that it was used to justify horrendous things, like slavery, Jim Crow, and all that other stuff. People still use it to this day, mostly neo-Nazis and the KKK, but the best we can do is to make sure that that isn't systematic. As long as it's not in our government, and it's not in our universities, it's not in any major sphere of our daily dialogue, then we're totally fine. There will still be racism, but that's the best that we can do. So, that little side rant out of the way, here's what I said in response to that condescending rant, so to speak.
I get that the word has usage with neo-Nazis, the KKK, etc., but I'm just emulating words and phrases that black people actually use, even if it sounds condescending from a white role player.
And you know, black people actually do use the word niggers to describe themselves or their friends. They do actually use the word nigger, and black internet personalities have been known to use their race as their, username, like Black Guy Gamer, for instance. Yeah, so that's pretty much where games nigga was derived from, so to speak. So nothing racist, I'm just sort of emulating the lingo of the people. So this is what she had to say.
Has usage, not in the slightest. It was a key term in the oppression of millions of black people who did absolutely fucking nothing to deserve that. And if some 16-year-old kid living in the ghetto wants to use the word to refer to his friends, he can go right ahead, because that's a derogatory word toward himself. And he is still living every day in the aftershocks of the most traumatic events in human history. And it most fucking definitely wasn't his great-great-grandfather that took a human child from their human mother to be raised in captivity and sold to the highest bidder. He is allowed to mock himself. They've earned that after surviving all these years of something so fucking awful. But not you. No, sir. You need to understand that that is completely fucked up, that you would think that's okay. And it just goes to show that racism is still alive and well. And growing up as a white male, I would never expect you to understand, but I expect you to respect what you don't understand and be aware that you have no idea. I'm not going off because I'm mad at you. I'm going off because I need you to understand exactly what it is you're doing, and that some things cannot be taken lightly. It's the least you can do.
This is what I hate the most about SJWs. They're all condescending pricks. You know, the feminists say, oh, you don't understand the experiences of women. LGBT activists like, oh, you don't understand the experiences of gay people. And this person says, you don't understand the experiences of black people, even though I'm white myself. So, yeah, this is that white guilt stuff, which I get it. White people did horrible shit to black people. Enslaving them, putting them in the back of the bus. We did horrible things to black people. But to say that they're traumatized by events that happened 50 years ago? But to say that they're traumatized by events that happened 50 years ago? Really? By that very same reasoning, my ancestors who came here in around the 1920s, they were immigrants, mind you, from Yugoslavia and Germany and whatnot. By that same reasoning, I can say that I'm traumatized by the KKK because of all the shit that my grandparents went through, but my great-grandparents went through when they got to the US of A. Now, this is just my opinion, and you can choose to interpret this however way you want. But in my opinion, the reason why a lot of black people are still apparently traumatized by Jim Crow is that they let Jim Crow traumatize them. And these days, at the very best, the word nigger is a slang term. And keep in mind, all this is over a fictional username, Games Nigga. So, relative to these people, to my character's race, it's a slang term. But yet suddenly if Whitey uses it, then suddenly he is now a Klansman who's burning crosses in the middle of Boulder fucking Creek. Anyway, let's see how this poll plays out.
I don't have any idea what it's like to be a person of color, but I do know that they went through slavery, lynching, and Jim Crow, and the collective 300-year-long struggle to even have a chance at receiving the same opportunities as white people. I did edit that post, by the way, because POC are still traumatized by events that only happen to senior citizens who are POC.
Oh my god, what are you doing? You're actually letting those regressives control your thoughts and your art? You should talk some sense into these fascists and get them to grow up.
Listen, allow me to explain a few things. It's so much harder when you're actually having to put up with them. You know, especially when you're not in the mood to. Keep in mind, this isn't Reddit, this isn't Tumblr, this isn't the YouTube comments, you know, this isn't a website where you go on a serious debate. You know, this is a website for role-playing, so I don't feel like arguing, and I'm on here because I want to role-play, and I want to move the fuck on and do what I want to do. So I don't want to have this girl on my tail for my own thoughts, so I had to do something just to do it. Yeah, it might seem like peer pressure, but in the long run, it would have hindered my role-playing experience, and this isn't the type of website where you argue. I said that already, but I feel like I need to hammer the point home. But this isn't for arguing, period. You know, I just wanted to get over it, and it had a good result.
Thank you. Though I'm inclined to point out that every black person is very personally affected by what happened, not just senior citizens, but I won't go further than that. Thank you for editing the post. I was actually going to join the RP, and was just reading through what had already happened, and then this happened. So I'm gonna join the RP now.
Yes, this is the real life. A fictional username, Games Nigga, kept someone from joining a role play. Yes, this is actually happening, and I didn't fabricate this with sock puppet accounts. This was legitimate. So, if you're curious, this is what I changed the post to.
Big sister is watching. Big sister is watching. Big sister is watching.
Yep, she's actually signed up to this RP, thus mildly ruining the experience for me. But you know what? This shows a rare case of a moderate. Notice how she didn't say that not all white people are anything like their ancestors. And that, you know, she has at the very least a bit of self-awareness. I mean, even her profile says that she's a brat. So she does have a bit of self-awareness and that she's moderate. Although, to be fair, it also says that she's 15, which is easily explainable. I mean, when you're young and you're in high school and whatnot, we all go through that one phase in life where we adopt extremist views. And I mean, we all go through that anarchist phase or that neo-fascist phase, or in my case, the communist phase. I mean, I'm even gonna play some of my older videos to show you what I mean. We're of different ethnic groups than me, but the reason why America is so artificially diverse and yet cultureless is because we eradicated their culture. We took their culture. Yes, the legacy still lives on in state names and artwork and whatnot, but now they're just shunted off. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Oh, hello. You know how social justice people are sometimes offended for a group that they themselves aren't even offended? That brings me to the questions of the day. This first question goes to black people. Are you legitimately traumatized and or affected personally by Jim Crow? And as for the white viewers, would you rather be enslaved by the Roman Empire or by the Ottoman Turks? Please give your answers in the comments. Even though this is a bit of a deviation from what I normally do on this channel, thanks for watching, and this is Tonstead39, over and out.